Greetings to you, my friends, at First Presbyterian Church in Casa Grande on this Thursday, a week before Holy Week. We've been on a journey in Lent, a journey to Jerusalem, just as Jesus went up to Jerusalem. So we are making our journey to Jerusalem, to the spiritual Jerusalem, and to Holy Week by sharing some of the Psalms. I'm delighted to have been able to share some favorite Psalms with you. Today, our Psalm is number 131. It's a short Psalm, but so poignant. O Lord, my heart is not lifted up. My eyes are not raised too high. I do not occupy myself with things too great and too marvelous for me. But I have calmed and quieted my soul. Like a weaned child with its mother, my soul is like a weaned child within me. O Israel, hope in the Lord from this time forth and forevermore. You might remember Pastor Bill's excellent sermon this last week, in which he talked about finding that midpoint and not falling victim to what it might be on the extremes of being really high and the extremes of being low or in chaos. So how do we manage that midpoint? My daughter called us last Tuesday evening. She was in tears. She lives in Boulder, Colorado. And a shooting in which 10 people were killed took place in a King Soopers grocery store in the market that they frequented when they lived in that particular neighborhood. There were no names of the victims other than of a brave policeman who lost his life. And she was concerned for her friends and friends of her friends, not knowing who was in the store. She called simply saying, I need prayer. Please pray with me. Don't hang up. And so we prayed with her, and we were singing What a Friend We Have in Jesus. And we were singing the Taizé song, O Lord, hear my prayer. O Lord, hear my prayer. Come and listen to me. She needed that calming center. And then after we hung up, she texted us and said there is a Zoom service tomorrow morning on the front lawn of the Mennonite Church, which happens to be located directly across the street from King Soopers. And so on Tuesday morning, we rose, and at 6 o'clock, we joined Mennonites and others in the community via Zoom in the front yard of the Mennonite Church with King Soopers in the background. Still at that time, no one knew the names of those other 9 who had lost their lives. So it was a prayer service of lament. It was a prayer service for the families of the victims, the mothers and the fathers, the sisters and the brothers, the children left in bereavement. How devastating that was. And yet on the front lawn, one of the facilitators of this gathering said, we need to come to the still point. We need to come to calm and serenity, because that's where God gives wisdom. And we can only be effective in the chaos around us as we are centered and as we have come to that still point ourselves. Well, that happens to be what the psalmist here is talking about. He said, we are like a weaned child with its mother. We have known the good times. We've known the full bellies. We also fear for those times when there may not be food to eat, but the weaned child sits in that still point middle in the arms of a loving mother. Well, how do we come to stillness. Joan Salmon Campbell, African-American woman who was moderator of one of our Presbyterian General Assemblies, said, well, this is what I do. She was in a reconstituted family, so there were a number of children, I think 5 or more children. And she had to manage the affairs of the house. She had to manage being a mother, and she had to be the General Assembly for a large church that often had difficulty coming to decisions. She said, every morning before the household awakens, I go through this exercise. I allow myself to attach the concerns I have in my mind that are stealing my energy and release those to God. And I do it this way. I take a deep breath, and at the top of the breath, I allow something to come to mind that's stealing my energy. I hold it there for a while, and then I breathe out. And as I breathe out, I release this into the hands of God. And so one breath after another, I am in touch with what is taking my energy, whether it's personal or family or church-oriented, or whether it's something in the culture, in the society that's disturbing. And I keep doing that until there are no more thoughts that come to mind when I come to the top of my breath. And then I sit in silence. It's at that still point in the middle. After a while, when I'm ready to break the silence, I pray the Lord's Prayer, and I hold all of those concerns before God. What is the chaos? What are the extremes of our lives? What is that center where we might, with the psalmist, feel like a weaned child, having known nurture, living with the fears, yet living in the arms of a loving mother? In this season of chaos and disturbing news, in a season of pandemic, we are like the weaned child. So may it be, and may God bless you on your way to Jerusalem, on your way to Holy Week. Amen.